We're taking a deep dive into something pretty interesting. We're talking severe scoliosis and a fitness device. It's called IsoTone.
Okay.
We've got two main sources for this deep dive. We've got Channie Farber's CV and a whole document about IsoTone itself.
Interesting.
So are you ready to explore this kind of unusual combination with me?
Absolutely. I think the intersection of fitness tech and complex medical conditions like this,
Yeah.
it's always interesting to explore.
Right. Like when you think about it, it's not something you see every day.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start with Channie Farber. Let's look at her CV.
Sure.
Her background is actually fascinating. She's got experience with isotones development, like the actual development of this device, and marketing it as well. And get this, it's from 2018 to 2024.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that is a significant amount of time dedicated to this device. I mean, it kind of suggests she's got some deep understanding of isotone and its potential.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. And get this, she also worked as a personal organizer,
Interesting.
helping people identify, what their goals are, what their pain points are, and then like creating systems to make things, flow better.
It's an interesting connection. Someone with that kind of background, they might approach a challenge like severe scoliosis
Mm.
with a very unique perspective, looking for like practical solutions that are actually, useful for people in their day-to-day lives.
Exactly. And that's what kind of struck me as well when I was reading this. It's almost like she's got this knack for understanding needs and then creating
Yeah,
solutions.
it's like a problem-solving mindset.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so we've talked about Channy's background, which is really quite interesting.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the actual isotone and severe scoliosis.
Okay.
So this document it specifically focuses on cases of scoliosis with a spinal curvature of over 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Now, for our listeners who aren't familiar with spinal curvatures, that's huge.
That's very severe.
A healthy spine has a curvature of less than 10 degrees.
Right.
So we're talking about a really, really serious condition here that can cause like real pain.
Oh, absolutely. And mobility issues too, right?
Yeah, huge mobility issues.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And this is where I think, from a clinical perspective, things get really interesting because like you said, we're talking about a serious condition.
Right.
And traditional methods for severe scoliosis, they often involve things like bracing,
Bracing, yeah.
surgery, or even both.
Yeah.
And what's interesting here is that this document, it's proposing using isotone to help with, muscle strengthening and spinal stability, which are like, you need those to manage this condition.
They're essential.
Exactly. So it's really interesting to see.
And it's not just about being like a supplementary tool, you know?
Right.
It actually uses the phrase crucial for managing severe scoliosis.
Wow.
So it's putting itself out there as a key player in this. So could isotone be a non-invasive way to help these patients?
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, because
Mhm.
if it can, because traditional methods, they can be tough.
Yeah.
Surgery, bracing, it's not a walk in the park.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a huge question. And the document seems to suggest that isotone might offer a more targeted approach to muscle strengthening than you might get from traditional physical therapy,
Interesting.
which could be, if it's true, that could be a game changer for scoliosis patients.
Absolutely. So how does it work?
Right.
What is it about isotone? What makes
Yeah.
it so special?
Well, according to the document, isotone, it focuses on something called targeted muscle engagement.
Okay.
And we're not talking about your average gym workout here.
Right, right.
This is different.
That's very specific. Yeah.
Imagine an exercise that strengthens the muscles that are responsible for rotating the spine back into alignment. It's a very specific thing.
Right.
And that's something that traditional methods might not be able to isolate as effectively.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it's almost like isotone is acting as a personal trainer.
Yeah, yeah.
But for your spine,
Yes. No.
zeroing in on exactly what needs work. That's incredible.
It is. And that's what the document claims sets isotone apart, this targeted approach.
Yeah.
That's what they're claiming.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a very specific problem, right?
It is.
And it requires a very specific solution.
Absolutely.
So, okay, it's not just about like building strength, right? It's about building the right kind of strength
Exactly.
and in the right places.
And about precision.
But the document, it doesn't stop there.
Right.
It also talks about something called resistance adaptation.
Okay.
What does that even mean?
So resistance adaptation basically means that isotone can adjust to different strength levels.
Okay.
Like you could have someone who's, recovering from surgery and they could be using the same device as someone who's, just starting their fitness journey.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that adaptability, it can be really important for scoliosis patients, especially when we're talking about rehabilitation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we've got like the targeted muscle engagement, we've got this adaptable resistance.
Right.
Is there anything else IsoTone has up its sleeve? Like what else can it do?
Well, the document also highlights IsoTone's exercise range.
Okay.
It suggests that it can target very specific issues related to scoliosis. So, things like flexibility,
Right.
stiffness, range of motion, all those things that can be, seriously impacted by having a curvature of the spine.
Absolutely, yeah. It's almost like IsoTone is trying to be this like one-stop shop
It does seem that way, yeah.
for managing scoliosis.
Yeah.
But there's more, right? The document, it hints that IsoTone might be useful for more than just building strength. It mentions something called structural balance and postural improvement.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
Okay, so that's where things get really, really interesting because we're moving beyond just strengthening muscles.
Okay.
We're talking about how those muscles work together to support the spine.
Right.
The document kind of suggests that by engaging multiple muscle groups at the same time, isotone might promote more symmetrical muscle development, which is huge.
And why is symmetrical muscle development so important for people with scoliosis?
Well, scoliosis, it often leads to muscle imbalances.
Okay.
Right. So imagine this, you could have really strong muscles on one side of your spine.
Right.
But if the muscles on the other side are weak, that can actually make the imbalance worse.
Oh, wow.
It can worsen the spinal curvature.
That makes sense.
And isotone seems to be addressing this by focusing on balanced development.
So it's not just about like building bigger muscles, it's about building smarter muscles.
Exactly.
Muscles that actually work together.
Yeah, it's a smarter approach, a more holistic approach to managing scoliosis. And it's not just about, looking better.
Right.
It's not just about the aesthetics of having a straighter posture.
Yeah.
This kind of balance, it could mean less pain,
Right.
less discomfort for people with severe scoliosis just in their everyday lives.
Yeah, that's huge because we're talking about a condition that can really, like, it can impact a person's life,
Absolutely.
like their quality of life. So if isotone can deliver on, even half of what this document claims, especially in terms of like reducing pain,
Right.
that could be incredible.
It could be life-changing for some people.
But hold on, because it takes it even further. The document suggests that isotone could also have a role in physical therapy
Yes.
and rehabilitation.
And that's a whole other,
That's huge.
it's a whole other area. And it really speaks to how versatile this device could be. What I find particularly interesting is that they're emphasizing its potential use after surgery.
Which, let's be honest, often happens in these cases.
Often, yeah, it's often necessary. And the idea is that isotone can help make sure that the muscles surrounding the spine, they stay strong, they stay supportive during that crucial recovery time. So it's about preventing complications
Right.
and just promoting a better recovery overall.
So it's like this bridge between having the surgery
You like a bridge, yeah.
and then getting back to, a more active life.
Exactly. Because, traditional rehab, it can be a slow process.
Yeah.
And it often focuses on these general movements. But isotone with this, targeted approach, it could potentially offer a more efficient way, a faster way to rebuild the strength, the stability in those specific muscles after surgery.
It's like having a physical therapist in your pocket,
Right in your pocket.
guiding you, through those exercises that you need, that are specific for you. But there was one more thing I wanted to ask you about
Okay.
that really caught my eye in this document.
Yeah.
They mentioned an effort gauge.
Okay.
What is that? Is that I don't know, like a fitness tracker that's built into IsoTone or something?
That's what it sounds like, right?
Uh.
It sounds like they've integrated some sort of monitoring system. And what's interesting, they're saying this effort gauge, it gives you real-time feedback
Wow.
on how intense your exercise is
Okay.
and your progress.
So it's not just like a gimmick.
No. This is really valuable stuff. And not just for the patient, but for the therapist too.
Right. Okay. I see where you're going with this. So for the patient, it's like having this reassurance that
Exactly.
they're doing it right.
That they're on the right track, yeah.
Yeah, and that they're, putting in the right amount of effort. But for a therapist,
Yeah, for the therapist, it's data. Right. It's valuable information. They can track a patient's progress.
right.
They can make adjustments to the program as needed.
So it's like this constant feedback loop
Exactly.
to make sure that the patient is getting the most out of their rehabilitation.
It's taking a data-driven approach to recovery, which is,
That's really remarkable.
pretty amazing when you think about it.
So we've talked about a lot, haven't we?
We have.
We went from like Channie Farber's background, which is super interesting in itself,
Yeah,
to like all these potential uses of isotone
it's pretty
as
amazing.
a tool for like managing severe scoliosis.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of potential there.
So like where does all of this leave us?
I think the biggest takeaway here, it's that isotone, at least from what we're seeing in this document,
Right.
it could really change how we think about severe scoliosis,
Okay.
especially when it comes to like, managing it without surgery and rehab.
Yeah, because we're talking about something that often needs like a lot of medical help.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly there's this device and if it does what it says it does,
Yeah,
it could be a whole different way of approaching things, or at least like another tool.
exactly. Like it could work alongside those traditional methods.
It's pretty impressive when you think about it.
It is. It is. But, it's important to keep in mind that this document,
Yeah.
while it's got a lot of info, it's just one perspective.
That's true.
And knowing that Channie Farber was involved in developing isotone
Yeah.
and marketing it,
Yeah.
we have to, think about whether that influenced things.
That's a really, really good point. We can't just like take everything as absolute truth.
Right.
We need more research, more people looking into this.
Exactly. Independent studies to really see what isotone can do and also what it can't do.
Yeah.
It's not about like dismissing it.
No, no, no.
It's about being cautious.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of these deep dives, right?
Absolutely.
It's about asking questions. It's about being curious.
Yeah. And hopefully that leads to new discoveries and new way of doing things.
So to wrap things up here, I think the big question we're all left with is, could isotone be the future of how we manage severe scoliosis?
It's a big question,
It is.
but it's definitely one worth thinking about.
It is, and who knows, maybe isotone will totally change how we approach this complex condition.
The potential is there. Thanks for diving into this with me.
Absolutely. And listeners, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.